Hi Sherry and Aaron. This is my instructional strategy presentation. I've decided to do it on a video because I think I just learn more when I actually have to present it to someone as opposed to just getting to type it up on a Word document, which is lovely, but I don't learn quite as much. So I'm trying it this way. Hopefully it will work for you guys as well. As the saying goes, it ain't over till it's over, and we, of course, know that reading isn't over until we have both read as well as understood and comprehended and been able to extrapolate from our reading. Today we'll be explaining 4 different after reading strategies that you can use with your students to help them recall, comprehend, and then of course extend what it is that they have read. If at any point in time during the presentation I am moving too quickly, please pause the video by clicking the 2 vertical lines right down, I believe in that corner of your screen. You can start the video again by pressing on the rightward facing triangle that will appear in that same location. So without further ado, let's go ahead and move on to strategy number 1. Alright, strategy number 1. Please open your Reading to Learn book to page 81. Who said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country"? You probably said John F. Kennedy, and you're right, good work. Thinking about Kennedy's beliefs about patriotism and service, we could probably write several other quotes that he could easily have said, just didn't, or we don't have proof that he did. That's the idea behind this strategy, who said. Who said helps students infer and draw conclusions about people's thoughts and actions. There's 4 basic steps to who said. You can see those right there at the bottom of that page. The first step is to select a text with several characters. It's important that there are several characters, so students really have to think about which quote matches up with which character. Step 2. After reading, have students select a character and write on a slip of paper something that the character would have said, they just didn't. It's important that the students not use direct quotes from the story, but instead think about what the character would have been saying when they were off stage, or perhaps if we had had running commentary from their brain. Step 3. After all students have submitted their slips, draw one out and read it. Step 4. Have students determine who in the story would have said something like that, supporting their claim from using evidence from the text. This part is most important. Make sure that students are really connecting what they're hearing with some evidence from the text. There are 2 opportunities for students to build their comprehension skills in this activity. First, when deciding what to write for their own character, and then second, when they are trying to determine which character matches which statement. I'll give you just a moment to go ahead and read through that page again and see if there's anything else that will fill out your understanding of the strategy. My second strategy also comes from Reading to Learn, so go ahead and take your book and flip back to page 76. On page 76, you'll see the 3-level guides. The 3-level guides consist of a series of 3 levels of questions. Each level of questions is a little bit more difficult than the last and addresses a different level of comprehension. Level 1 questions address the literal level of comprehension. What did the author actually say in the text? The wording may or may not be exactly the same as in the text, but the student's task is to identify which statements are from the author's mouth, or ones that they actually said. Level 2 questions address the inferential or interpretive level of questioning. They require the student to extend their literal understanding to see connections between those ideas and to search for answers. Level 3 questions are at the highest and address the evaluative level of comprehension. They require that the student relate the information to their own background and make judgments about other ideas that they think the author would agree with. So essentially, as the teacher, we get to create 3 levels of questions for students to think through. 3-level guides do take a fair amount of preparation, so let me walk you through the steps that it would take to create one. First, determine the content objectives for a particular reading. Statements at each level should be targeted at this objective. Second, start at the third level of comprehension statements. These should be based on the content objectives, the so what of the text, and the deeper understandings you want students to walk away with. Write 3 to 4 statements at this level, having a couple of them be ones that are true of the passage and some be ones that are not. Next, move to level 1 and write the literal level statements. Be sure to include information on which your level 3 statements are based. So really you want to be building scaffolding from that first level to that third level. So think about what the student would need to understand at level 1 to be able to do level 3. Here again, you want some statements that are ones that are from the text and some that are not. The student will have to be differentiating between. Of course, fourth, you're going to write your level 2 statements. These should be the ones that help students draw inferences and move from being able to successfully answer the level 1 questions to being able to successfully answer the level 3 questions. Here in the book, the authors give an example of what a 3-level guide could look like and what the questions at each level should look like. So I'm going to give you just a couple of minutes to read that. That's on the bottom of page 77, and then on the next page, 78. So take just a couple of minutes to read through that. At the end, the authors are kind enough to acknowledge or forewarn, if you will, that preparation of 3-level guides can take a while, but you can see why this would be a really effective technique to help your students build comprehension, especially if it's making the connections between that literal level of comprehension to the higher interpretive and evaluative levels that students are struggling with.